with an impairment charge of almost $3 billion in the latest year. I want us to find out what went wrong that Disney had to throw out almost $3 billion worth of movies and TV series, especially at a time when the streaming wars are very much at a boiling point. All streaming and entertainment companies are finding out how important it is to make efficient content. And just like we've been doing for other streaming companies, taking the $33.5 billion in produced and licensed content and using that to divide the latest revenue number of $89 billion is almost 2.7 high twos. This is better than Paramount, this is better than Warner Brothers, this is better than Netflix. And yes, it's because Disney doesn't just do streaming. The theme parks, resorts, cruises, licensing and merchandising. As a result of our strategic change in approach to content curation, we paid approximately $0.4 billion in cash to terminate these license agreements early. Disney kind of making it hard to figure out what was actually the change. But I have eventually found for us a risk factor. They face risks related to changes in business strategy, which may continue to affect cost structure, the profitability of the business, and the value of assets. For example, entertainment is now separate from sports. In addition, Disney is also now even more focused to expand things such as theme parks and resorts, which are usually thought of as part of the experiences segment. Disney is looking to invest in experiences also because media and sports continue to have increased competition, which, for lack of a better simplification, is just kind of scaring the management at Disney. The cost of programming, what they call delays in consumption of, meaning that whereas a couple years ago people would see a new Disney show almost right away, Disney's been noticing that people now take longer to get interested in the shows, some customers taking a couple months before they even try a show that's brand new, even though they're aware of it. If it's not high quality creative material, then Disney worries that it will limit how much it can grow the price of Disney Plus and other related streaming services. It needs to keep a certain level of quality in order to protect the advertising rates and subscription fees, but that right now, all it looks like from the management's perspective is like an increasing cost of the compensation for the employees that make that necessary creative material. And so a lot of effort spent by the investor relations department to explain to investors why streaming is kind of scary. And this also explains why in the cash flow statement, the net change in content costs and advances has been cut to less of a third of what it was in 2022 and less than half of what it was in 2021 during the peak pandemic and Hollywood strike years. And so the pandemic is over, the Hollywood strike has been resolved, and Disney is supposedly unironically choosing now as the time to limit how much it spends on new content. And it doesn't really make sense to me without meaning disrespect. Where's the fight that turned Disney into one of the largest entertainment companies on the planet? And so I've kept looking until I think I found an explanation of what's really going on. Hulu LLC, to people in the US, this should be a very familiar name. It was in May 2019, well before the pandemic, well before anything like a Hollywood strike, well before anything like a streaming wars even, that Disney entered into a put-call agreement with NBC Universal. In August 2023, the put-call agreement was amended, which allowed NBC Universal in November of 2023 to exercise its put rights. This now means that Disney fully owns Hulu at the price that NBC Universal got to set. Know that the guaranteed floor is going to be more than $9 billion, but that's the floor of how much Disney has to spend on purchasing the rest of Hulu. If Hulu's equity fair value is determined to be higher than the guaranteed floor value, the company, aka Disney, would need to continue to pay the difference between equity fair value and the floor value. Just a 20% difference in fair value would already make up the difference between what Disney was spending in 2021 on content and what it was spending this season. So equity fair value is not expected to be determined until sometime in calendar 2024, and as of when I'm making this video, I have not heard any news that this has been determined yet. So back at the cash flow statement, this substantial decrease in how much Disney is spending on content. Sure, it's because the streaming wars are tough, because it's scary to be competing with anyone who has a camera and a laptop, but Disney genuinely has no clue how many billions of dollars it's going to have to be forced to pay because of contracts that it made related to Hulu back in 2019 or earlier. I'm sure Disney is happy to become a full owner of Hulu, which by many accounts is a successful streaming service, but Disney did not get to choose the current situation. It is being forced to pay NBC Universal a lot of money, and I would argue that that money is coming directly from the budget of Disney Plus and Hotstar. I have no idea if things work out well and they don't end up paying too much for Hulu, if Disney will immediately try to make up for lost time, but that would just be speculation. For right now, the only thing that's guaranteed is that Disney is not spending on content until this Hulu situation is fully resolved and in the rearview mirror. And put call agreements, transactions based on derivative values, always have the potential to blow up in someone's face. It genuinely seems like for Walt Disney, their negotiations blew up in their face precisely as the Hollywood strike was ending, precisely as the streaming wars are reaching a boiling point. I have no idea what to compare it to. I've seen negotiations go like this in the past, but never for an entertainment company. But luckily we have the Sage Seeds AI to give us a season ranking, as Sage Seeds AI is focused on finding the most valuable companies out there. What ranking do you think Disney is gonna get? The Walt Disney Company is ranked in the 78th percentile in value for the 2023 season, falling into that bottom quartile where Sage Seeds AI is feeling nervous about labeling this value. Yes, I dropped everything to go with my family to see Inside Out 2 in theaters, but leadership at Disney has been a bit wonky for almost half a decade now, and during the early part of that wonkiness, they did some derivative contracts that are blowing up in their faces. Too late to cry about it now. I'm sure the company will move forward, but while it is, luckily we have Sage Seeds AI to give us some sense of just how bad this situation has become. You know I gotta ask what people's favorite Disney films and or TV shows are. Personally, I have a weird soft spot for Aristocat. Share with the community in the comments below. Follow me on Instagram, Threads, or X in order to interact with me or get hints about upcoming videos. Make sure to like and subscribe, and thank you for watching until the end.